About 4 years ago, 54-year-old Stacy Rambold, who is a high school teacher, or was a high school teacher, raped a 14-year-old female student by the name of Cherice Morales. Now, after he raped her and after he got caught, he was facing trial, and right before the woman, or the girl, was going to turn 17, she killed herself. So he actually ended up getting sentenced to 30 years in prison. 30 days in prison as a result. Prosecutors originally wanted him to get at least 10 years in prison, but he did not get those 10 years. Now, originally there was a plea deal, and in the plea deal, prosecutors agreed to dismiss the case if Rambold admitted to 1 count of rape and agreed to enter a 3-stage sex offender treatment program. However, while he was at that treatment program, he had unsupervised visits with young women.
So now, in the beginning, I was outraged as to why his sentence was so low to begin with, right? But I found out there was a good reason for that, and it's a terrible one, an unfortunate one. It's because since the girl committed suicide, it was much harder to prove the case against them. So they struck a deal, right? But they were like, look, you can't step outside of this deal, as they tell everybody, etc. Otherwise, we're going to lay the hammer down on you. So he does step outside of it. It's a perfect opportunity to correct this gross injustice and lay the hammer down, and that's what the prosecutors want to do. Yeah. But then they run into the judge, who apparently thought otherwise.
Now, the judge that sentenced him in this case is Judge Todd Baugh, and he basically said that the 14-year-old was just as responsible for the relationship as Rambold was. And he said, quote, Cherice was older than her chronological age. So as a result, he basically made it seem as though she was not a victim. She participated in this relationship willingly, and never mind the fact that she's 14, and at the age of 14, you can't consent to sex, right? We have laws on the books indicating that people who are underage cannot consent to sex. So he's just making excuses for this guy and essentially enabling him. He will serve his 30 days in prison, he will get out, and I mean, what kind of consequences is he gonna face?
So how is this judge sitting on the bench?
No,
you cannot be chronologically older. Just technically speaking, you can't be chronologically older than you are. But forgetting even just the English language, the whole point of having sentences based on age, and that some people are tried as children and some are tried as adults, no 14-year-old is anywhere close to an adult, nor can be have their judgment based on that. Oh, well, she was 14, but she acted like she was 17. So clearly this guy didn't do anything wrong. I mean, it's insane.
So let me jump in here and tell you guys a little more about this judge. He is seeking re-election so he can serve again, and it is a 6-year term. He is now 66 years old. He said that he was planning on retiring, but then he decided, nah, I don't want to retire. I want to continue being a judge. So if he gets reelected, and by the way, he's unopposed, he will serve as judge for another 6 years.
Yeah. So he went on to say that the 14-year-old was, quote, just as in control of the relationship as the teacher. Now, come on, look, there's some arguments you can make around the edges, and whenever I get mad, I think, okay, look, let's look at it in the best light of the other side, okay? So now if you were to say some 17-year-olds are, you know, in a state where you have the legal age at 18, some 17-year-olds look very mature, and as if they hook up with a 25-year-old, you're going to put that 25-year-old away for 10, 20 years? I don't know about that, right? I believe the legal age should be 16. But in this case, we're not anywhere near 16. It's a 14-year-old. Yep. Second of all, it's the power dynamic, as Anna pointed out, is he's the teacher. She's not just as in control as the teacher. I don't care what the 14-year-old said, okay?
He's the
as
teacher.
As the 54-year-old teacher, well, you've got to have the ability to what? Fend her off? Fend the 14-year-old off? No, there's no excuse for it whatsoever.
And also, I mean, there's obviously a huge age gap, like a 35-year age gap. There is the power dynamic. And on top of that, he takes the plea deal, he goes to a treatment facility for his, obviously uncontrollable urges, and he breaks the law again. He has young girls come visit him, and it's unsupervised. Now, his attorneys say, oh, it was family members, this and that. But you know what? It doesn't matter. He was not supposed to meet with any young girls in a situation where it's unsupervised, but he did that, which shows that he has complete disregard for what the consequences are and what he was supposed to do or wasn't supposed to do.
And by the way, before the incident, the school had already warned him not to touch girls.
Yep.
So this is not like the first time this has happened with this guy.
The fact that schools even have to give those warnings and that's not enough to say you don't have a job here is crazy. This whole thing, you know, this guy should be gone for 30 years. The 30 days, how is that even at any level of logic, how does that make sense? 30 days, 30 days. She killed herself, you raped an underage child, 30 days. Under any level of logic, I just don't understand.
And you know, the judge, who clearly sympathizes with the defendant, clearly thinks at some level, well, I can see why he did it, right?
Oh, God.
No, because I'm taking his words. She's just as in control, you know, and you know, she was older than she looked, she acted older than she looked, and then said, well, look, the guy lost his job, he lost his wife, he's suffered enough. No, he hasn't. What we have laws, and you're supposed to go to prison, and that's like whenever somebody sympathizes, John, with the defendant, like with the bankers, it's always like, well, I mean, in the court of public opinion, they've been shamed a little bit, and the judge here talked about like on the internet he got shamed. Oh, did he? Oh, well, I guess you should let him go.